What's up, everybody? Josh Riel here with Scott Snyder at Comic-Con 2018. How's it going, Scott?
It's going great. Thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, dude, so excited to talk to you about your Justice League comic. And I don't know if you know, I'm like the Sector 2814's biggest Green Lantern fan, and you made a horrible mistake by making a brand new Lantern Corps, because now I'm going to ask you all about it. It's the Ultraviolet Lantern Corps. How did you pitch them and like integrate that into your story?
I just do it, and then no. I go to my editor first, and I have a great team of editors: Tay Taylor, Marie Javins, and Andrew Marino, and I pitch sort of the basic concept of it and what it would add to the DCU. And then it goes up the chain. We have like a lunch with Dan DiDio and Jim and talk about mostly the sort of story potential for it. So for me, I've always wanted to play with Green Lantern and the mythology, and I thought one of the things that was missing was this idea about what about all the kind of sublimated emotions, the things that you don't want to admit are there. I mean, rage you feel and you express, love or hope or willpower, all those things are kind of visible almost to us because we act on them. But what about the things we don't act on?
So John Stewart is on the Justice League team, and he gets taken over by the ultraviolet power. So you can explain how does this power challenge John?
Well, John is a character I've wanted to use for a while. I love the fact that he was sort of a soldier and an architect, and he's got these two sides of him. I love him as a character. I've loved him for many years and wanted to sort of shake things up. And with Grant coming, now we can finally say it. To do Green Lantern, he has plans for Hal that are so special to Hal. I talked to Grant when we were planning Metal, and this was always the idea. So it was like, you use Hal because Hal has a special mission. He's working on the Source Wall right now, and then he goes into Grant's book, and then John can be very active and nimble in our book.
That sounds so cool that you guys planned that out like that. So another question I have is, Sinestro, you put him back in the old costume, and when I first saw it, I was like, no, I really am digging, I've always liked the yellow Sinestro Corps uniform, but it makes so much sense because the color of that original uniform is that violet, and it really works because he also uses the ultraviolet power. Can you talk about how you sort of came up with that?
Yeah, well, that was the idea. When I was looking at him, and I was like, well, if he's been after this ultraviolet or this invisible spectrum, this entryway there, maybe he was wearing that costume because it conducts that kind of energy. And he was this great explorer, right? He was like the Indiana Jones of Korrigar and all of that. He was this incredible hero in that way. And I want to do adventures of that one day. For us, each one of these things that you're seeing, the invisible spectrum. Next, you'll see the elixir of extinction, spoiler, and also the key to the graveyard of gods, where all the dead gods from the past go. That's the Aquaman Wonder Woman arc. Francis Manipal is drawing it. It's out of control, amazing, visually, and each one of these things comes back, and it all culminates in a way. And Batman Who Laughs, which I'm doing starting in November, is also part of this. Batman Who Laughs will first appear in, I don't want to give it away, but I will, Justice League. And that sets in motion that series, which then sets in motion things that will come afterwards.
I love how you just give so many spoilers that I've lost track now, but that's so awesome that you have so many cool things planned. I do want to ask about the Batman Who Laughs. You announced he's getting a new mini-series. He was the breakout character of Dark Knight's Metal. So yeah, please tell me what can we expect from that story?
Batman Who Laughs does not care. He's the apex predator. He has Batman's planning, and he has Joker's evil, and all he cares about is anything that could possibly be a threat to him, which is basically any living creature. He plans 100 ways to kill that thing if Batman's smart. So he's the scariest guy I've ever written.
Last thing before we go, what I really love about your Justice League comic, and that I've seen a lot of people who are just loving, is the fact that you brought back the original animated series lineup with a couple additions, and then you established the Legion of Doom and Lex Luthor as a villain again. It really feels just really good to have these classic concepts back and at the forefront of DC.
One of the things I loved about the animated series and about Grant's run and that stuff was that it felt so connected to the rest of the DC universe and so inclusive and big that when he did the Watchtower, it felt right at that time because he wanted to show these characters are so important and large. I'm doing the Hall of Justice to make them, again, approachable, inclusive, connective. I want the series to feel like the heart and soul of the DCU. Justice League, to me, is supposed to announce that to you. It's supposed to say, the Hall of Justice is open, the doors are open, there's a public hall, come see the trophy room, you might see Batman, maybe not, and enjoy it, because they're the greatest characters in the world, and it's the book I wanted to write since I was a kid. I mean, Batman will always be my favorite character, but Justice League was the golden ring for me always, because it is the core, it is the heart and soul of the DCU, and I'm very honored and grateful that you guys have been so supportive. I mean, the book has been selling out and all that stuff, which we never expect, and the enthusiasm you guys have shown for it, and IGN, how supportive you guys have been, I really appreciate it. This is my dream job. I'm going all out with this one, and I want it to be if I don't know. Like, you want to like I don't want to get on the couch because I know we're gonna run out of time. But I've been here 10 years next year at DC, and I don't know how much more how superhero giganto stuff before I need to do some creator-owned stuff a bit, whether at Vertigo, whatever, like my own stuff too. So for me, I want this one to be almost like if I never write another superhero comic, this is everything I love about DC, about superheroes, what they mean to me, what they have meant, what they could mean, all of it in one place.
That's amazing. A good note to end on, some warm feels. Scott, thank you so much for literally running across Comic-Con to come talk to us and the IGN audience.
It's an honor. You guys have been with me. I remember doing my first IGN interview when I was like just starting American Vampire. I was sweating just of nervousness, and you guys have always been so kind.
And now you're sweating again. Full circle. Right. Scott, thanks again so much. And for more from Scott, DC, everything here at Comic-Con, keep it here on IGN.